This is the first time in the podcast room like this with video and shit.
It's great.
Got 2 computers. I have no idea what the fuck I'm
doing. Like a mad scientist back there. This is great.
This is what happens when an ex-cop realtor sets up a podcast.
Yeah, man, this is great. This is great.
Fuck, welcome to the house, buddy.
Thanks, buddy.
Jonathan
Thanks for having me out
Harvey.
here. Yeah.
Love it, nice. Man. Off the cuff, Blendr news, owner of several restaurants during the COVID pandemic.
Yeah.
We can say that because we don't give a fuck on this podcast.
We're all done with the restaurants, though. That was a nightmare.
Yeah. And also let me know what, if we say some shit, because we can edit everything out.
Yeah, no. I pretty much don't care what I say anymore.
Yeah?
I'm pretty good. Yeah.
It's so good.
I had like a conversation the other day about like all this vaccine stuff, and I'm like, hey, I'm careful not to say things that where I have no intelligence whatsoever. If I'm like, hey, man, I don't know. I'm not going to do that. But if there's something where I've got something to add, or even if it's an opinion, I'll tell you. I'll be like, hey, look, here are my thoughts on this. I'm not educated, but here's what I think and why. I don't mind. I'm good.
Yeah. Well, fuck. Yeah, you definitely helped out the country for sure during that pandemic with like, you're so data driven that it's like you hear it. If someone's like chirps you or wants to argue, they're kind of fucked unless they've got something that they've done some research on, right? Which is fucking awesome. So we're what? We just had a provincial election.
Yes.
We're frozen as a federal government, waiting for who knows. We're going to end up with a prime minister who's never been elected.
Yes.
For me, dude.
What are we doing here, buddy?
You got to talk me off a cliff in terms of leaving. I don't know anymore, dude, because I'm, as a father, you're a father now, right? Things have changed. Your perspective's got to be different from what
for sure
months
it is.
Ago, right?
For sure it is.
Dude, I don't fucking know. Our country's upside down. They got tariffs. There's so much in the last like month, you know?
It's tough. There's a lot to navigate. I think with respect to staying in Canada or leaving Canada, here was kind of like my line. As I was like, okay, if there's another Liberal leader in place that somehow wins an election and has the next 4 or 5 years here, I got to go. That was one of the lines that Meg and I drew. We're like, look, just because when you look across the board, it doesn't matter if you're looking at sort of the DEI initiatives, ESG, what they're doing with schools, what they're doing to our economy, which is really the most significant component, what we're doing sort of with our foreign affairs. You just sort of look at all of it and you go, this is a complete mess. And, I say this constantly. I'm very much politically agnostic. It's like what's happening in your country. And it's funny. People sometimes get offended by that. Well, you're not on my team. It's like, no, look, you live in a democracy. The whole idea is you vote for other parties based on what's going on. You don't have to just be blue no matter who, like they'll say in the States. That's kind of preposterous, right? So, but right now to fix this country, we need conservative politics. We just do, right? Because everything that the Liberal Party has implemented in the last 5 years, you can pretty much rip apart. Even like the dental care program, you can shred it. The $10 a day childcare, shred it. There's so many problems. They basically nationalized that industry, and now people are dropping like flies. People are dropping out of that program rather as quickly as possible. So if there's another, if Carney somehow pulls an election and wins, we're gone, right? Yeah. And I would suggest the same for you. I hate to say it, I would. If you do see a conservative government and they have a majority and the Senate plays ball, because as you know, I believe it's 86% of the Senate now has been appointed by Trudeau. They say it's nonpartisan because they used a Liberal board to select who it was, but ultimately it's all through the Prime Minister, right? Yeah. So if you add 4 years of Conservative, the Senate played ball, and things are moving in the right direction, I'm like, okay, maybe Canada makes sense again. Not in every way, but at least it's moving in the right direction. And, you look around, like, you have your home, you have your family, you have your friends, you have your businesses here. So you'll make allowances for it as long as it's kind of, like I said, going in the right direction. However, if a Trudeau or a Carney got in again, or, the next 4 years ended up being pretty much a stalemate and things didn't get any better and immigration was still pouring in and government spending didn't stop, you got to go. You got to go, right? Because those are the two big things. If we don't curb immigration and government spending, this country's fucked, right? So there's a trickle down from those two things. You can sort of extrapolate a lot from those two really, really big issues. So if they're willing to, and it seems like everybody is kind of on the, hey, let's cut immigration a little bit. If they're willing to do that and they're willing to reduce the size of government, and you have some sort of, it's not even really conservative policy. It's clawing back on all the Liberal policy. It's clawing back on your bail reform stuff, which you know well, Right. It's a joke, right?
It's so bad.
It's clawing back on all the censorship stuff. It's clawing back on the immigration stuff. It's clawing back on the gun stuff. If they just pull back on a lot of these things, the country gets significantly better. And I think it's tenable to stick it out until we thrive. We thrive again, right? But that's sort of the way I see it. If I'm being honest with you, though, I think Megan and I are like 1 foot out the door, very close to 2 moving to Texas. We were thinking about it for a long time, and we've sort of thrown a few ideas around on where we would live. That's always been on the list, and we just had some opportunities come up, so we are going to seize it. So I think I'm gone, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But
and so tell us, is that linked to Blendr? Is this came from like off the cuff into Blendr?
Yeah.
Your own news company.
It's kind of wild, dude. You know what's so crazy
It's
is
sick.
I appreciate that. And for me too, it's almost like, I'm not going to say surreal, but I'm the kind of guy that tries to plan his life. Obviously shit doesn't go to plan, but that's how I work. And you have this vision for your future. You could go down this path or this path. And when you're a child, it's an astronaut, a baseball player, you know what I mean? So as you get older, you kind of refine. I never thought I'd be sitting here on camera with a microphone talking to people. I never thought journalism was really going to be in the picture. It was never something I really, even really cared about, to be honest with you. Like, I like performing. I enjoy it. I like sharing my ideas and opinions. I find it cathartic when things are kind of fucked up, especially through COVID, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's kind of being an entrepreneur, you see opportunity. You're like, okay, well, I'm going to build in some efficiencies. I'm going to expand. And then once I sort of wrapped up the off-the-cuff stuff with when COVID did, really, that was kind of the end of it. I was like, okay, what do I do here? Yeah. And I started thinking, I'm like, all right, well, when you're a young entrepreneur, money's at the top of the list, right? But then as you do more and more, it kind of works its way down, right? There are other things that are more significant. And for me, impact was sort of top of mind. So when I kind of looked around at what I could do, what I was capable of, and the things that were moving, I was like, I think right now, Canada would benefit the most if I stayed in this space and continued sort of pushing forward in this independent media realm. I don't know what it looks like. I don't really know my way around. Like I said, I'm not trained as a journalist in any real way, but I was just kind of like looking at where social was going, it was happening. I'm like, I think this makes sense. So yeah, I pushed forward with Blendr, and then after about 2-3 months, I met Liam. Actually, I met him before, but then we really started working together after like 2-3 months, and he's been like the yin to my yang in a lot of ways.
Yeah, you guys are good.
He's
love
great.
His stuff. I love it, man.
He's such a gem. No, he knows how to do all the things that I don't. Sure, we both write and we both have different perspectives. He's more philosophical, more historical, and like you said, I tend to stick to data. I think it stays the numbers stay in my mind. So together it's a good pair. And then from a business perspective, the two of us just kind of know what the other one needs to do, and we help each other out. And if I got to go do something or vice versa, we're just there. So it's good. So Blendr's been around for almost a year and a half now.
Yeah.
That's wild. Yeah. So what happened, or what's happening with that, is I guess we sort of hit a bit of a threshold. The way I see media, the way I see the independent media, I guess I would say, is it's kind of like the big leagues. Now, bear with me. What I mean is you don't make money till you're in the big leagues. You can sell your merch and you can make a few bucks here and there and you can get by, but it's like being in single A or double A. You're basically get enough to live. When you get to triple A, you can have a decent living, but nothing spectacular. But once you get to the big leagues, now you're making millions, tens of millions. Joe Rogan money, 100 million. You know what I mean? And we're certainly a long way out from that. But what I would suggest is we did enough to get ourselves to like double A. And we started getting some people that have done pretty well in this space started noticing. We got some offers to sort of build a bit of a collective network where I'll still be able to control the majority of it, which is really important to me because it's news.
Yes.
I don't want people telling me what I have to do or what I have to say or who I'm aligned with. So that was actually very important. I got to keep the majority. So there's going to be enough capital coming into the company that we can now move to the States with it. So the idea, it's kind of funny, I haven't told anybody yet. I'm rekindling sort of the Mars network that I had before.
Yeah.
Except I've got a new acronym. It's now the Media and Reporting Society. So that's obviously your acronym is Mars. It's kind of going to be in the background for a while. What we're going to do is the Mars network will be the parent organization that will have a couple people in it. Again, which I'll maintain the majority of. And then Blendr will be under it. It'll be the primary news channel for Canada. So Blendr will expand across Canada. We're looking to talk to some people, BC, East Coast, Alberta, just basically have some contributors everywhere. And the nice thing is we're going to pay them. I think a lot of times people get into this independent space and it's like, do it for the love of the game. And it's like, how about I give you some money? How about I make this make sense for you? I think you attract better talent that way, high quality videos, just stuff like that. So Blendr is going to expand across Canada, and then we're going to start a US network. I would imagine it's probably going to be a year to 18 months before we do that. I think as long as we do it by like mid-election cycle, it's fine. Same type of thing we do here. Totally different branding. Not going to stick with Blendr. Do something that sort of fits the American market a little better. And then we're doing like sort of an alternative programming arm of it. So that would be like new podcasts, new shows. It's funny. My wife wants to do. She's not full Candace Owens, but she's kind of in that space.
I love her.
And Well, okay. So Meg's a little more neutral, and she likes to maybe talk a little more about ideas and how politics, kind of like the ramification of political policy, not necessarily like, hey, I'm conservative and here's why this policy should be this way. Kind of like, hey, this is happening, but this is what this means and this is why. And sort of like, sharing information sort of through a different means. Like, I don't know how to put it best. It's about politics, but it's a little more personal.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. So anyway, we'd be expanding through that arm as well. I think that one would be probably the last one to really move, primarily because in this space, you really have to prove yourself first before anybody wants to spend any money on you in building out a show. But anyway, that's kind of the plan. So right now it looks like we'll be in the States in about anywhere from 4 to 6 months. We're targeting the Austin area.
Yeah.
Like maybe a little either just like northeast of Austin or just east, like between Houston and Austin. But I'm going to go check it out pretty soon and see what it's like.
Yeah, you got to get a gun, an internal holster once you get down there full time. I think the goal is to just go and see where it takes you. Like, does part of your mind want to come back to Canada, or is like you haven't planned that far now just because that's a long way off, right?
It's not so. I think about it sometimes. What I think is we're looking at Texas pretty long term, but it doesn't mean I won't come back to Canada. There's still a small part of me, very small, that thinks about getting into politics in the country. Now, there's a few ways you get into politics, right? You can door knock from a young age, which is, I'm not young anymore, so it's not going to work. You can sort of climb up the ladder relatively quick, depending whether you're going to do provincial or, federal, whatever that might look like. But no matter what, you have to put your time in. Or I do believe that the Donald Trump approach is real, where if you make enough money and have enough of a name and enough influence, you can leapfrog a lot of the system. You still have to become an MP, but if you're a heavy favorite and you get into that position, I think you could climb your way to the top within 5 years. And for me, like, look, I'm not sitting here saying like, hey, I'm going to be the prime minister. But what I would say is if I were to get into politics, that would be my goal. So I do think about that. I was pretty passionate about it for a while. Then I came to the realization that I don't think I could do enough to move the needle in that position. I think that they're put in a small box, and that wouldn't work well for me. So I kind of want to see how things go in the country over the next, 15, 20 years. I just turned 40. I'm not in a rush to be the prime minister by any means. and to be honest with you, I'm not equipped yet. I'm not even close.
Yeah. A
lot of people think, I could do that job. I could do better than them. Well, yeah, anybody could have done better than Justin Trudeau. There's no question. But you got to think about like who you are and who you've become over maybe the last 5-10 years of your life, and the things that shape you and how you emotionally evolve. And I know I've still got a long way to go, and I can be much better. So I think, mid 50, 60, after my kids are a little older and I've gone through that experience, it may be on the table. So we may come back. So I'm not writing Canada off, but when I look at Texas, I think very long term. So we planned through this pretty well. So the benefits that I see in Texas, think about it in a few ways. First, there's no state tax, right? Yeah. So you keep 80% of your money, approximately. Just dummy math. So you're keeping a lot more money. Average cost of a home there is $325,000.
I love watching that Texas housing market.
I know that like Nava Realty Group.
Yeah, I'm like, so great. What the fuck are we doing here? And I'm a realtor here. Like what? Dude.
Right.
Fuck?
So you can get into real estate very easy there and start kind of building your wealth. But then there's all these communities, right? So I like martial arts, boxing. I'm really, really into it. They've got a great BJJ community there. They've got a great obviously they're the comedy capital of the world right now for English speaking people anyway, because of Joe Rogan. You know, we talk about expanding the media network. Well, that's the podcast community. You know, you think Megan's a musician and a phenomenal one. Okay, well, it's like the live performance capital of America. And then I think about my kids too, and that's kind of the next thing is I go, you know, my whole life I was a summer athlete. Sure, I mean, I skied, don't get me wrong, but like everybody can bomb down a hill. I wasn't anything special. With baseball and golf, though, I was pretty good. But I can only play 6 months out of the year here, right? Like, we didn't have the infrastructure these kids have today. Because if you play baseball today in Canada, you're in a dome pretty quickly as soon as it gets cold, right? Yeah, man. It was non-existent. But down there, you know, there's a great infrastructure. If he wants to play sports and he's really good at it, he can play basically year-round. And then for his education, the school system here is totally fucked.
It is. It's enraging, dude.
Right.
It's fucking bad.
Right.
Yes.
And so you think about that and you go, I'm not putting my kid in this. So I thought to myself, well, what am I going to do? And there were a few options here in Canada. You can go private school if you have the money. There are a reasonable number of alternative schools popping up. Yep. Or you tough it out and put them in public school, and you're just on top of it when they get home.
Buddy, the kids came home the last few weeks, talking about the election. I'm like, the fuck are you talking about? Right?
How old are your kids again?
Dude, 7 and 9.
Whoa.
This is more Rye, so grade 4. She's coming home. She's like, yeah, Dad, today we learned about the Liberals. I'm like, oh, okay, right. Oh, okay. I'm like, what else have you learned? She goes, well, we're going to learn about the other ones next. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, trying not to snap, right, without, you know, traumatizing my kid about politics. And we're already pretty vocal. Like, they know we're pro-Trump. And they don't know why. They're just like, oh, Trump from fucking Home Alone 2. Yeah. Right? That's like, as far as their innocent brains go. Right? And that's it. Macaulay Culkin. It's very simple, right?
Yes.
But yeah, like, so a liberal cesspool for the most part. And if you're a teacher and you're not liberal and you're offended by what I say, speak the fuck up. But most of you are quiet and most of you are fucking nuts and you're liberal lunatics.
This is true.
So
I think it's 10 to 1. I think that's what it is.
Like, I don't give a fuck. You're all nuts for the most part. And the ones that aren't, you're quiet. So too fucking bad. Start a podcast and start speaking up.
That's what I like to say to people. I'm like, oh, you don't like what I say? Yeah. Well, you're welcome. The platform's available.
Yeah, it's fucking free. I quit loudly and look at now. Right? But yeah, she comes home and they know, like, who'd you vote for, Dad? I'm like, the good team, the blue team. But like you said earlier, I like that you say you're politically agnostic, and I never heard that before until I actually watched you on, what's the podcast? Help me out here. At Money Buys Happiness building.
Couple Casuals.
Yeah, Couple Casuals,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, he's a gem. I really like him.
And I love how you said that because I voted PPC one year. So I was like, fuck that Aaron O'Toole guy. Yeah. That guy's a commie.
He's such a wet noodle of a leader.
With a blue mask on.
Yeah.
So I'm not always blue.
No.
Right? I mean, in the States, I would always be red because Democrats are fucking insane. And now liberals are insane as well. So for now, I would vote conservative.
Yes.
But I'm going to tell my kids why, right? Like, as simple as I can get to my kids, they're like, Dad, why are the liberals bad? I'm like, well, Rye, they're actually not great with kids. They want to teach you guys weird stuff, which is why we take you out of school in June. Our kids don't go to school in June.
Whole month.
The whole fucking month. Wow. Fuck that. You know
what?
Nice,
like early summer break.
You know what? Like, that's great. And their uncle's gay, but they also don't know that I fucked Jen to create the kids. Because that's a fucking weird thing for a kid to know.
None of this. They don't need to be talking about any of this stuff.
No, exactly.
Or
they're
politics.
Like, and they've asked like, Dad, when can we listen to your podcast? I'm like, when you're 30.
Yes.
Right. Every answer is 30.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah,
that day's gonna come. By the way, just so you know.
I know. Fuck. But they're teaching them about politics. And I'm like, public school, fucking elections. They weren't teaching me that shit.
No.
They're trying to indoctrinate young kids.
Yes.
Right? Dude, they talk about Obama. I'm like, how the fuck do you know about Obama? We're fucking Canadian. Right? They're talking about all this shit. And it's always the liberal. Like, I'm surprised they don't know about Whoopi Goldberg and The View.
Yeah. Dad, but on The View. Oh, no.
Yeah. Sorry, but the school system, you set me off there.
No, it's good. That's what I wanted. This is why, right? This is one of the reasons why we're out of here. So, as soon as I get down, we're gonna basically set up, try to get signed up with Apogee Cedar Park, Tim Kennedy's school.
Yes.
Well, you look at it, you're like, okay, you teach these kids how to survive. You work on STEM programs half the day. They're outside building things. They learn to defend themselves. If I were going to start my own school, which is something Meg and I have considered, It's just a lot of work.
Yeah. I'll be your armed security.
Yes, let's go. So that's let's go, man. Get you out of here.
Yeah, man.
That was so I look at that, I go, okay, so the kids get the education we want, they can play sports, the communities we want are there, it's a better tax system. Yeah, like of course people are like, oh, the violence, the guns, are shit everywhere, man. There is more crime per capita, more violent crime per capita in Canada now than the United States.
Come on.
Swear to God.
Even that blows my mind.
We crossed that line this year. There is more gun violence there, but more violent crime, there's more in Canada now per capita. Wild. Fuck this place.
Well done.
So for me, I was just like, we're going down the wrong path, in a lot of ways. I don't like the direction we're going. And then, obviously you look at Texas and it feels like they're doing everything right for me, for my life. Hey, maybe you would rather live in Montana. Maybe you'd prefer Florida. Maybe you want to go to New York. That's fine. Whatever. Yeah, I know. I was just trying to be decent.
Yeah, you're trying.
But my point is, for us, it's a great fit. You know what I mean? And I'm comfortable and happy around guns. Doesn't bother me at the least. Let's go.
Fuck yeah.
So so we are looking at it long term, and there were a lot of reasons. And the other thing too, really, like I've been an entrepreneur for 16, 17 years, and I've had a lot of ups and downs, and it's a tough game. But we have a country that makes it exponentially harder to be a successful entrepreneur, especially over the last 5 years, where now it should be getting easy for me. Now I should be on the hockey stick trajectory. That's where I should be. In our country, small businesses are shutting down. We had 5%. This is fucking wild. Last June, 5% of all businesses in Canada shut down in that 1 month. I went, what the fuck? I was like, that can't be right. I gotta look into that. That can't be correct. Correct. Wild.
Wow.
That's what I mean. So you look and it's like they're only making it harder here, man. You just can't. So down there, it's like you got, sure you got eight or 9 times the people, but you have a lot more opportunity. A lot more money's moving around. It's just if you are an entrepreneur, I can't, other than maybe going to Dubai, but if you knew my wife well enough, you'd be like, that's not going to work for you. So other than like maybe Dubai, I think America's probably the best place for us to be for now.
Fucking right, man. Yeah. So before off the cuff, COVID, what were you doing before? I know you have all your restaurants.
Yeah.
And was that your goal? I'm going to have a shit ton of restaurants, hit that hockey stick. And then COVID happened. And that's when you were like, fuck this.
It was interesting. So I started trying to be an entrepreneur at a young age and failed a lot. And as I was trying to sort of live the dream, I worked in restaurants. So once I got better and better and better at being an entrepreneur, after failing literally every time, you just fall flat on your face every time. Then there's sort of this like natural progression that happened with me in the restaurant business because you become a little more mature. You start taking on different roles. I'm like, I know everything about these things. So by 26, I had my first restaurant down in the Cayman Islands. And then we just kind of scaled up from there. I got a good opportunity to sell that one and get into 5 more. So we played that game and I learned a lot from that experience. And then those were all in the Cayman Islands. So then we moved back north to Canada, and then I jumped into a bunch here. It was just sort of, hey, let's build an empire, and I knew this business. So that was kind of the idea. When we started building them here, we were doing all of our own construction because I worked, my father did construction his whole life, so I started doing it when I was about 16. And we were doing our own construction, obviously, so eventually I was like, hey, just in terms of moving money around, to be honest with you, it makes more sense if I have a separate corporation. And then we started picking up jobs for the construction company, and that started doing actually better than all the restaurants. So I was building some casinos, doing some pretty big commercial projects. That's how I met the guys I'm actually doing the work with now in the media company down south. So it was, think about it like sort of the companies were working in synergy. So we had the restaurants that were scaling as quickly as possible, the construction company rather, that was doing its own work and building the restaurants. And then we started to build out a media company because we had to advertise our restaurants. And we're like, no one knows how to do this. It's kind of difficult to go free traffic on social media, butts and seats. It was very difficult. So we started building out sort of this content arm, and then we turned it into a media company. And then through COVID, we really, really leaned on the media company. So that, I would say, April 2020, we really started to scale that up. So prior to that, the game plan was do construction, do restaurants. I was actually going to move more toward construction. If you live in this country and you have $3-4 million, and it may be a little more now, but this was kind of the strategy we had back then. You have $3-4 million back then. You build a fiveplex. The reason you build a fiveplex is it's commercial, not residential. So just different lending laws, you know. So you build one with your own money. Then you leverage it. People move in. They pay off your mortgage. You do another one with the same 3-4 million. Then you do it again. Then you do it again. Then you do it again. If you can do 2 a year over 10 years, you got 20 units. You know, you can do the math on what those things are worth. Now all of a sudden you have $100 million in assets. Yeah. And every year you just put more and more money in your pocket as they pay themselves off. And if you ever want actual cash, you can just re-leverage them. It's a non-taxable event. Now you got more cash. So that was actually the model. That was the plan. But I just got so jaded by this country, you know, like there's still a part of me that is probably going to do something similar in the US just because I know that business model quite well and I know all the ins and outs. But that was the idea. COVID hit, and then it really just became more about media. You know, it was interesting. Like I said, I didn't really have a big plan to be on camera or be talking as much as I am. Fuck, I never shut up now. But it worked out the way it worked out. So we just kind of leaned into it because we didn't really have a choice through COVID. So during COVID, I think we had like 5 restaurants or something when it hit, and very inadequate in terms of the money that was available. And it was expensive money because you had to give it back. And they're like, hey, don't pay payroll tax. And they're like, but now you got to pay it with penalties. You're like, what's happening? Yeah. So the only way I could actually afford to keep everything going was to build out the media company, and made enough money through that to kind of just level things out for a while. So it was a turbulent couple of years for sure. Yeah. We hoped that it would recover in 2022. It was a good year, but then everything started falling down again. It was just the economy, you know. Yeah. People's spending habits changed. Buyer psychology changed. The industry became, like I like to say, the industry became a level 2 opportunity. And as an entrepreneur, you try to become a level 10 entrepreneur. I'm nowhere near, but I'm like a 6, 7, you know? So you try to find opportunities that are just outside your reach. You know, if I'm a 6 or a 7, and, you know, maybe I'm patting myself on the back with that number or whatever, you chase down an 8, maybe even a 9, but an 8, because you want to get better. This game, you love getting better at it. You love learning more. So when you're a 6 or a 7 and you got a bunch of 2s, you're like, fucking shoot me. You know what I mean? So as soon as we could get out, we got out. So now we have no restaurants left, no construction company in Canada, just the media business. And like I said, it looks like we're moving south.
Fuck. So what was the restaurant that my sister had her go away party to Florida? We've been there a few times where we first met. What was that restaurant called again?
That was Nomads. Yeah, that was the last one I just got rid of.
Did you find it hard because your people there were fucking cool?
Yeah.
Did you find it hard to, like, because I guess they got to go find a different job?
Yeah. You know what it is? you sort of, it is difficult, but you find a way to compartmentalize things over time. So what I kind of noticed as I was going through my entrepreneur journey is you make good friends with everybody everywhere you go. You're very personable. You know, I try to do the same. It's kind of like a leadership skill you have where people will respect you because you can do the job that they're doing and you treat them well. So you become friends with these people. That's really what happens. Yeah. But every time you move on, whether it's another restaurant or another business or whatever it is, you leave most of those people behind. And you just have to find a way to deal with that. I still have a couple of really good friends from the business, but for the most part, yeah, we just kind of go our separate ways, right? It's interesting. I think we go through life. I've been on about this lately, like because my friend group shrank significantly when I moved up north, and through COVID, and people don't always agree with what I say, which is weird.
How dare they?
Yeah, I know, which was fine, you know. I feel bad. I piss off my family more than anybody. I'm just like, it's cool. Yeah. They get it. We just kind of agree to disagree.
Yeah.
Because
which is fine.
We used to argue, but I have all the data, so it's not a good argument. So I was like, all right, we're not going to do this anymore. This isn't a safe space, guys. Don't argue. So anyway, what I was saying is, as you get older, you know, you kind of try to navigate your life by having the right people around you. And it sounds cliche, but it really becomes more and more true as you get older, especially when you have kids, you don't have time for everybody. And what I notice is there are people in your life to teach you lessons or, you know, to add value or whatever it may be. But often that ends. And I think people have trouble compartmentalizing that, being like, hey, this may sound a little harsh, but like I'm of no value to you and you're really of no value to me. Maybe you leveled up and I didn't. Maybe you have to go in that direction and I'm going to go, the opposite way, and that's okay. So, over the last couple of years, it just became such a familiar thing to do, to be like, hey, guess I'll see you when I see you. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it wasn't really about trying to kick people out of my life. It's because I am really looking to have the right people in my life. So I'm never rude or mean to anybody. I'm never standoffish. I never say, hey, I don't want to see you again. Nothing like that. It's just you sort of strategically fade away a little more because your cup's full. Like you said, you got work, you got kids. It's like, okay, I have time for 5 really, really good friends. So the threshold's really high. And that's not to say that someone should try to meet my threshold. That's not what I mean. It's just that I'm compatible with certain people and they're compatible with me. And that's what you're looking for, is that compatibility.
Naturally.
Yeah, exactly. Happens. Yeah. So that's a little more like you just kind of cut the crap. You know what I mean? So that's a long way of saying, no, it hasn't been too hard because I sort of had been doing it for a little while. And then the way I see my life these days, I'm pretty quick to move on.
Yeah.
Thoughts
on off mic, we're talking tariff stuff. And actually, before I even get into that, it just crossed my mind today. The whole, and again, I like how you talked about you're not blue, you're not red, you're you, right? I'm pissed at Trump right now. You want to know why? Because this fucking Epstein list it's not coming out.
I know.
I'm fucking so you got to call him out and you got to call him out, right?
I have a theory about that. I'm pissy about it too.
I don't fucking like what they're doing, giving it to fucking all these influencers. What the fuck kind of gay shit is that?
That was so stupid.
It's so dumb.
At least the influencers were like, hey, this is bullshit.
Yes.
They're like, oh, thanks, great,
some were kind of fucking wieners about it. But.
Yeah, because some people, like you said, they're instead of blue, no matter who down there, they're red, no matter what. They won't. I'm sure there's some fucking rhythmic saying that I missed there, but anyway, you know what I mean. So they're no matter what, they vote Republican. That's who they are. So by being let into the circle, they're just like, this is it. This is it. And it's their time to shine. So they're just like, oh yeah, I got some part of this list. Bullshit. Fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
Now they're going to do a phased release. Just, hey, we'll parse it out.
Yeah.
We'll decide. Just go ahead and send it out. So here's what I'm thinking. It's one of a couple things, right? Either there are too many Republicans that are going to be implicated that are important Republicans for today. And I know that sounds crazy. And I'm not suggesting that their actions, I'm not suggesting that they're more important than the bad things they've done. That's not what I'm suggesting. But what I'm saying is the Republican Party might go, hey, the country's moving in this particular direction. If a dozen people that are a part of this new movement are all implicated, what does it do to the movement overall? So that's one thing where they might be going, oh, fuck, we got to figure out a way around this. I don't agree with it, but it could be the case. The other is this. So there's a couple people that I follow. One of the guys' name's Ian Carroll. I think he does Cancel This Clothing Company or something. I think's the name. His username. Kind of weird. Really smart guy. Super, super intelligent. Does a really great job of covering pretty much everything. And he's very neutral. He doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
So he was suggesting, and again, I don't know, this is hypothetical, that the Mossad, the Israeli intelligence, the Mossad, was in control of Epstein. Okay, so I go, okay, let's say that's the case. Let's say that's the case. So if the Mossad's in control of the list, and they're deeply embedded in American politics, deeply. They're the largest contributors, definitely to the Democratic Party. I don't know about the Republican, I'm not sure, but they're deeply embedded. So they've got a lot of influence, obviously, let's say. If they control Epstein, that means that they control the leverage that the Epstein list has created, which is all the videos of all these people, right? The Clintons, the Bill Gates, whoever it may be. So if I'm the Mossad and I'm still using this leverage on these people and you're going to release this list, well, now we've got a problem, right? Because I need this information or I want the leverage over these people. So I'm not sure that the Mossad didn't go or did go. I have no idea. Just a theory. But they may have gone, hey, we want to have leverage over these people. You're not releasing that list. And they go, yeah, fuck you, we are. They go, okay, we've got leverage over you in these other 10 ways. Do you really want to play this game? So the leverage that the Mossad could potentially have, because they're so deeply embedded in American politics, could be in a totally different realm. But it could just as significantly break down the Republican Party or American politics or trust from society. I don't even know. So I think it's one of those two things, but I'm with you. I think there's a 5 to 10% chance we see the list or anything significant. Yeah. But I think it's one of those two reasons. Either they're worried about what it'll do to their own party and their own efforts, or a group, the Mossad or a group like the Mossad, control the list and have leverage over them in other ways. And so the cascading effect would actually be very harmful, even though you weren't involved in it, right? So let's say this is not true, but let's say no Republicans were involved. I don't know if it's true or not, but let's say that for this thought experiment. No Republicans are involved, but they're involved in all of these other things over here: corruption, fraud, whatever the fuck else it might be. Yeah. So if they release that list, well, now their people are implicated in other ways that totally decimate the party. So it's just something to think about. Like I don't know, but that's my opinion right now.
Yeah. Because that would mean that they control the FBI, or the FBI didn't even have it's crazy.
You see that right now. They're like, oh, we're just getting the list. Where were they then?
Fuck, I know how police investigations work. That's fucking garbage.
Right?
Right? No. Whoever investigated Epstein, whoever sent What's-Her-Face to trial, Ghislaine or whatever the fuck her name is, they the evidence just doesn't go poof over to Israel. It's there. It's fucking on a computer somewhere. It's fucking protected.
Right.
Right. If there's a homicide that happens here, you can't even access it. Only the this would be so protected.
Yes.
This would be 10 trillion levels higher of protection than the dog shit stuff I was investigating. It's fucked.
It doesn't make any sense, right?
It makes no sense.
Right.
And the fact that it was one of the things, the second I'm elected, we're getting the list.
Yes.
Where's the fucking list? I want heads chopped off.
Yes.
I want pedos. If Trump's on the fucking list, which he's not because he wouldn't say it.
No, but he also...
But it makes people think, is Trump on the list?
He also booted Epstein out of his...
Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, exactly.
He was banned. And that was fucking 20 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was like 06 or some shit.
That's a liberal fucking pussy talking
I know.
point.
You know what's so annoying too? My mom says that shit to me. I'm like, Ma, the fuck?
Do you know what's fucked? Sorry, you just said So, and again, they don't listen, but half my family doesn't listen, but... My mom apparently shared this thing on Facebook, and I don't follow it because I'd snap. But she was saying that the bitch from Maine, who is going to allow men to compete in women's sports still, told Trump where to go and what to do. And I'm looking at my wife. I'm looking at Jennifer.
Did she not watch that?
I'm like, so my mom's okay with... I'm in such trouble after this. So my mom's okay with men competing against Riley, my fucking daughter, her granddaughter? And I just look like, dude, I don't know, man. I just want to fucking move away and be away from these crazy. It doesn't fucking make any sense.
Well, here's the thing. There's no utopia. There isn't. There's no utopia. You can find a place like Texas that might treat you a little better, but that there's a bunch of people from California moving to Austin, so there's no utopia. And the needle always, things are always, there's ebbs and flows. It always changes. It's not perfect, right? It's just the problem with parents is they get this skewed version of reality, the skewed version of media, because they only pay attention to the mainstream. If you watch that exchange between those two and you thought that she told him where to go, then you got 3 seconds of a 30-second clip where he roasted her.
They're CNN boomers.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Exactly. My parents are the same.
It's fucking...
Love them, but that's why I say we can't even have these conversations because I'm like, oh, you don't have the information. This is the problem we have, right? So we're not on equal footing. Yeah. It's like I've got 10 pieces of information, you've got 2, and you think that we're kind of going head to head here. It's not going to work. But then you try to explain it, and then I kind of go, the amount of time it's going to take for me to actually explain this to you, and you're going to fight every piece of it because you've built your opinion around what you think you know. So I go, we're done. This doesn't even make any sense. I can't. If you're not, you know when someone's open and interested, but when you only have 2 parts of the information, you're sort of suffering from the Dunning-Kruger effect, where you know so little you don't realize how much you don't know.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, so it's a tough battle. I think it's hard for guys like us because I love my parents. Sounds like you do too. And you want to get along with them, and you want them to see the world for what it is. Not even that they have to see it the same way. I just want you to really know what's going on. Then I want you to make up your own mind.
Yeah.
But you're being shown the highlight reel, the Hollywood version of it, to sort of, I'm not going to say brainwash, but it's propaganda to try to dictate the outcome and to try to tell you how you should feel about things. And that's wrong. Again, I don't care if you agree with anything I agree with. I just want you to see how fucked up the world really is and then go from there.
It's so funny how someone who's in their 60s, boomers, and then my own gay brother tells us, take your kids out of school. My fucking community has lost their fucking mind.
Yes.
So with the disconnect of your parents who raised us both, My sister, same page. We're all my siblings the same. And then your parent, like the patriarch of your fucking immediate family. I don't know. It's frustrating to me, man.
It's weird. So what I kind of chalked it up to, which is strange, is which is crazy, but a little bit, it's like partisanship. They've bought into being a liberal for so long that they're unwilling to understand that the Liberal Party has morphed into something you wouldn't recognize anymore. And maybe because it happened slowly, maybe because they're given a skewed version through the media. I don't know why, but it's like they refuse to explore the other side. So they just buy in wholesale. You know, it's this weird thing. Like I'm very adamant about being politically neutral. Like I think it's very, very important because there is good and bad on both sides. But here's the thing. People, you know, we were talking earlier about being the prime minister. If you have to climb your way up through the ranks, right? So let's say you became a liberal in the late 90s. I could have bought into being a liberal in the late 90s, right? So let's say 25, 26, 27 years ago. Now let's say I'm young and ambitious, right out of university. I'm 22, 23. And I'm climbing my way up through the party. And now it's my turn. I'm 60. I'm the guy. I'm going to be the prime minister. Look at the fucking party now. Look what it's become. Yeah. You bought into a party where you loved the ideology and the ideas and the things that they were doing and what they represented and how they were treating the people and that they were a party for the people and they were anti-war and they were, you know, all these things that made sense back then. Pro-free speech, let's go. But look what they've become. And this is the problem, is now the Liberal Party has become the dangerous party that is now basically for Laurentian elites. That's all it is. You look at the polls the other day, the only thing the Conservatives weren't winning was the vote over 65 and wealthy people. You're telling me if wealthy people... Dude,
even wealthy people?
No, wealthy people were the only party that voted in favor of Liberals over Conservatives. Wealthy people and people over 65. Only those two. Wow. So you go, if that doesn't tell you what the Liberal Party has become, I don't know what does.
Yeah.
So again, back to this point is, when you decide you are one color in one party, things change. And, you know, I used myself as an example of going, if I got into politics, one of the issues that I have in climbing up is, today the Conservatives represent something that I support. 20 years, they might be the fucking Liberals of today. Then what do? You put your 20 years of hard work and just throw it out? You'd have to if you have any moral or ethics.
Yep.
So that's why I'm like, it's a mess. But anyway, back to our parents is, I think that's what's happened to a lot of them, you know. They've been associated with this sort of, I'm a liberal, this is what I do, and this is what I support, and I'm going to stick with it. And so they're just kind of lost in partisanship.
Fuck, eh? All right, tariffs. I went on a tangent there. I started to say tariffs and then I went off on other
podcasts are for, dude.
I liked your take before we started recording on tariffs because I, as a real estate guy, I am still so pro-Trump on most of the shit he does because in the Western world, he's the only one with balls that will say what most people are thinking. I don't care what most of you think it.
Yes.
Most of you don't want fucking dudes playing against your daughters, but most of you parents are pussies and you care more about your paycheck than your own fucking kids, and that's a fact. So fucking suck my dick. But the tariff stuff, obviously, he's taking care of his own country with. I'm cool with. You mentioned 4 years of Conservatives. How long do you actually think it would take this country to repair itself energy-wise? Like, we stopped all our pipelines because we're stupid and we like fucking solar panels and fucking, what are those stupid fucking wind things?
Turbines and ice.
Turbine
that's
fucking
not a good game
things,
plan.
Right? That cost and harm the environment more when you chuck them in the ocean.
Kill all the birds, you fuckers.
Yeah, exactly.
It does, man. It's
right?
fucked.
Fuck. Well, maybe we need more birds dead because apparently no one knows how to fly a fucking plane anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Jesus.
Holy DEI.
Let's
Thank
go.
You. Beauty pageant
At least
pilots.
nobody died. Fuck.
But how far or how long do you think it would take Canada to repair itself to be able to actually self-sustain? You can never just rely on your own country.
No.
But I think we need a different government to get along with the biggest superpower that's ever going to have existed, in my opinion, with the American Trump.
Agreed.
So we need to do a few things. Get along with the fucking guy. Stop talking about retaliating like a bunch of 2-year-old babies.
Yes.
And then we need to be able to like rely on our own resources, which we can't yet.
That's our only way out, right? The reality is it's our only way out. We can negotiate with Trump in a lot of ways right now. Every liberal and honestly, even the conservatives, they're like dollar for dollar. I'm like, I don't think you guys realize that he's the elephant and you're the ant. This doesn't go well. I would be trying to find a way through it. However, before I dig into that, I'll try to explain. So I interviewed a guy named Dr. Ian Lee from Carleton University, and he is super, super sharp guy. He was explaining to me why or what Trump's actual plan is. So there's a gentleman named Steve Mirren. He's a financial advisor for Trump. and he's laid out this blueprint. Every year, there's a document that goes, it passes through Congress, the president sees it. It's got every country listed alphabetically. And beside each country's name, there are their protectionist trade policies. So I'll stick with Canada. So we are very protective about our broadcasting, our telecom, our banking, and our supply management, which is a bullshit agricultural program. So those are the things that America wants in Canada. There are some other things, but those are the primary ones. So every country's got this list. Trump is using, according to Steve Mirren in their blueprint, and this is the plan, Trump will be using these tariffs as a weapon to pry open your protectionist policies. So until you are willing to let Americans into your broadcasting, telecom, banking, and basically cut the supply management program, these are going to stay. You're going to see tariffs, and they're not going to stop. So obviously he's doing it right now. He's talking about the border, fentanyl, all this other stuff. You can argue that he's trying to just make up ground in other areas, but he already spoke to Trudeau about the banking and the telecom. He said it in passing, but it's in print and it's on video. He's like, hey, let's talk telecom and banking. So you already know that's what he's going to do. So it's interesting, though. Once he starts using these tariffs and the Canadian economy is suffering and we're losing jobs, you as a politician have one of two choices. Go head to head and it gets worse. Or you open up these protected trade areas, right? But what's interesting is, sure, we might lose a few jobs if you open up your protected trade areas, but what actually happens for Canadians if you let more competition in the market? We pay less for goods. So if you do let American companies that have significant economies of scale, so if you let them in, and now we pay the highest telecom bills in the world, if not the highest, second or third. Outrageous. Right, so all of a sudden prices go down. Our banking, our 5 biggest businesses in Canada are banks. Not one bank is in the top 5 in America. All banks.
Come on.
Very rigged system here. So you let them in, things get better. What's interesting is now maybe mortgage rates go down. Maybe you've got flexibility from an American economy for lending and borrowing. Things start to change. It gets a little easier for Canadians. Supply management, food cost goes down. People can argue about the farmers. It's really about Quebec farmers. The program needs to go anyway, so there's going to be some suffering. I'm not pretending there won't be, but it's for the greater good. Once these things happen, now these tariffs go away. So as a politician, you don't even really have a choice. Make things cheaper for Canadians and let Trump in and drop the tariffs, or keep fighting him and bury the country. What do? Pretty simple. So it may take a while to get there, but that until someone gives me a better idea and more information, that's where I'm at with tariffs and what's going to happen. So your question's sort of about energy, because there's really 2 ways to look at this. One is you can open up your protected industries to America, which I think we're going to have no choice. 2 is, what do we do to avoid letting this happen again, right? So that was kind of your energy question. So I did a bit of research on this, actually. In the next 6 months to a year, we could really increase natural gas and oil. So we could do a pretty good job. Not crazy, but we could start ramping up. It would be about 4 to 5 years, though, till we could do anything really, really significant. Okay. So, and when we need those are the 2. We have a lot of minerals here, a lot of precious metals. We have a lot of stuff here that we can leverage as natural resources. But really, we have the 3rd highest oil deposits in the world, and number 1 for natural gas. Pierre Poilievre says we're number 5. According to my research, we're number 1. We have enough natural gas in Canada to power the world for 209 years.
Come on.
209 years. What's interesting about that, when you talk about the green agenda, right? This is what cheeses me the fuck off. So you talk about the green agenda, and they won't let you take out natural gas because they'll talk about methane and all these other things. They're not wrong. But if we offshored our natural gas to the 5 or 6 nations that already want it, so they could stop burning coal, then the net effect for the globe, because this is global warming, this is a green agenda for the planet, we're all breathing the same air, it would actually go down significantly more than Canada could ever reduce their own carbon footprint. So we could do more for the world by offshoring our natural gas environmentally than we could here by going through all this green agenda bullshit. So when you just think about that, and you see, and to boot, we'd fix our own economy. We wouldn't have to be quite as dependent on America. So when you consider this, you just look at the politicians and you go, this has nothing to do with what's best for Canada.
No, not at all. You said something almost at the start about no one can be prime minister unless they were an MP. Well, we're about to see it.
Right. You're correct.
But it's ass backwards and corrupt as fuck.
You're totally right. I forgot about that.
Well, it's about as corrupt as our government can get.
It's a loophole in our parliamentary system that I don't agree with.
Yeah.
It's interesting. The reason this is so fucked up is, what do we know about our elections, the last two, for sure? What do we know for sure? China was involved. Iran was involved. Russia was involved. India was involved. We know that. We know they were all involved. Okay. So how much were they involved? Well, when Trudeau pulled the last election, you don't pull an election unless you think you can win a majority if you have a minority. You don't. So he thought, I can win a majority. His pollster said he could win a majority. His party said he could win a majority. So he did it. What happened? Won a fucking minority.
Yeah.
Right. What did China want? And that information's available now. China wanted him to have a minority government, and he does. Now, I'm making a leap here. I can't say for sure. But what we know is China wanted him to have a minority. He obviously thought he'd have a majority, and look where he landed. So when you think about how much influence they have, just consider that. That's very significant. So if they have as much influence as I believe they do, and now we've got this opportunity to implement a leader that was never elected, well, how do we know that it's not someone that's in bed with the CCP? Yeah. Because they're influencing our elections at this level anyway. How do we know? We fucking don't.
Yeah. What's that? I saw it today, I think. You shouldn't be worried about becoming the 51st state. You should be worried about becoming the 27th province or something. I guess China's got 26 provinces, right? And then all you see is the China. I don't even know if that's the right number. Fuck off. But it's It's something like that. And then Carney gets called out by Puliev that he sold I guess he was part of voting his company or something he was CEO at down to New York. Yeah,
so he was chairman on the board of directors. And he is the one that wrote and signed the memo that either agreed to, like they needed his signature. Yeah. He's like, no, I had nothing to do with it. Bro, your name and signature's right here. So what's...
I shouldn't be laughing. It's fine.
No, but the thing is, think about it like this. If you own and run a company or the chairman or whatever it is, you have a fiduciary duty to shareholders. Your job is to make them as much money as possible. That's kind of your mandate. In fact, it's like a legal obligation.
Yeah.
So... he's sitting here, and I don't care if he does this. I'm actually good with it. You know that your company's going to do better in the States. Go move it to the States. Yeah. But you can't also be the prime minister telling me everything's great here and you're going to fix our country. You can't do both and then know how fucked up it is and pull your company down there and lie about it. It's interesting. Right now, I think he's making a mistake. He's got an opportunity right now to disclose his conflicts of interest. I think that would be a good idea. I'll tell you why. He's like a heavy favorite to win.
Oh, yeah.
Freeland can't possibly win. Karina Gould is talked some sense, but she's also a little wacko to me, too. She is. It's what it is, right? So the party won't let Freeland win based on what she did, turned on Trudeau, because obviously whoever's in his cabinet, whoever the higher-ups are, there's no way she's getting in. So Carney's getting in no matter what.
Oh, fuck yeah.
So don't you think now would be a good time to disclose your conflicts of interest? Because if you don't, they're going to come out when you have a federal election. Because right now, if you do it, and then you pull a federal election, in 6-8 weeks from now, they're going, well, you have conflicts of interest. You go, yeah, I disclosed them. So what? He disarms them, but he's not doing it. So it's going to come out then, and I think he's going to be in a very tough spot. I think it's a big mistake for him.
Do you think they can use these tariffs to delay the election for another year?
They talked about it. I don't think citizens would take it. I tell you why. I think, and I actually don't think they will either. And here's why I believe that. Because they're already talking about pulling the cord on an election right now, right? So they are using the similarity or commonality that people are drawing between Poilievre and Trump to say Trump wants us to be the 51st state. Trump's putting in all these tariffs. Trump, orange man, bad. Poilievre is orange man. That's their rhetoric. So they're going, liberals can save you. Let us save you. So the reason this is continuing in the media is because the liberals are climbing in the polls because they are pitching themselves as a solution to Trump. And Poilievre is the same problem. So I don't think they're going to try to use it to extend because I think that'd be very unpopular with Canadians, especially, we're still kind of reeling from the last time they did it, for the which was deemed illegal at the Freedom Convoy. So I don't think so. I think that they're using the Trump thing to their favor, though, and I think it's working in a sense. But it's interesting with polls, right? You get the guy from Ecos Research, Frank Graves. I won't remember the quote exactly, but he went on this rant on Twitter in 2022. and he basically called Polyev a right-wing populist and said that he would never lead his country, and that he'll make sure that there's no way he ever leads this country. And then he finished by saying, "I don't make idle threats." Guy sounds like a bitch. You make a threat online to someone on Twitter, you're a bitch. Don't be that way. Anyway, he deleted the tweet, but the internet never forgets. So obviously he's a bitch. He deleted it. Anyway, this is the guy. Ecos Research is the one that is showing that the Liberals are tied with the Conservatives. They're kind of the group that's been leading the charge in the polling, saying that they're doing so much better. So, I mean, polls are worth whatever they're worth. Yeah. When you think about it like that, just look at Trump and Kamala Harris. Yeah. Neck and neck, blowout.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I guess what I'm saying is I think that they're going to use the Trump tariffs and the Trump 51st state rhetoric as a platform to push back against conservatives, saying that they're a better solution. I think it's the only chance that they actually have to win an election in the next year. I think now is actually, if I'm being honest, now's their best opportunity, right?
Really?
It is, because think, I for a while I was going, no, rebuild brand equity and, be stronger in October and really, try to improve from there. But things are going to get worse in Canada between now and October.
Yes.
Right. So what have you got to look at your track record? If it just keeps getting worse, how do you rebuild brand equity? You can't. Yeah. So your only real chance as a Liberal Party to hang on to power is to call an election in the next 6-8 weeks.
Yeah, and go after Poilievre.
That's it. That's all you got.
So when I'm getting mad at Poilievre, because there's sometimes he just sounds, he says shit and I'm like, there's no way you think that, or he's too. He wants to go back at Trump and he talks about retaliating. Do you think that's a strategy from his people to get the people that are anti-Trump, who are kind of politically homeless because they think that dudes shouldn't have vaginas? Yeah. But if they make him, like you said, seem like the orange man's buddy, right, in the mirror.
Yes.
So maybe it's a good thing, because he says shit and I'm like, fire your fucking, and I'll fucking say something. And I'm like, fucking, I know there's no way you think this shit.
No.
Right, but maybe it's just to get the votes, and it's the political game that I could never be a part of.
That's what I think it is, if I'm being honest with you, because...
So I should chill out sometimes.
Well, you think about it like this. Sometimes you have to lose a battle to win a war.
Yes, okay.
And if you look at what's happening right now, the only reason that the Conservatives will be declining in the polls is because of what we just discussed. That's the only reason, right? Everybody agrees with the policies, and people vote in private, despite what they may say in public. They vote in private, right? So if they're like, yeah, guys can play girls' sports, and they go vote, they go, that's kind of fucked up. I don't even know why I say that. I just don't want to, stand out or be ostracized, whatever your problem is. So he's doing this because this is the only place he's losing ground. Because anything he says today, it's not policy. He's got no power. There's, you've obviously got a minority Liberal government that's going to get support again from the NDP, probably. So he can't do anything to move the needle. Whatever he says, he might as well just say it for the sake of pulling those voters back. The reality is, to me, Jamil Javani, who was recently elected, right? So he's good buddies with J.D. Vance.
Come on.
Yeah. So I think they went to school together, may have been roommates. I might have gone a little far there, but they're buddies. They're good buddies. Lots of photos together.
On the radio. He was brilliant.
So, and I really like Vance, to be honest with you, too. I mean, he may have got a little hot-headed with Zelensky, but I mean, that's fine. I like him. So they're buddies. So this is really good for Canada, because you are going to operate favorably with your friends, right? So whatever we're seeing right now, and we also know Trump hates Trudeau.
Yes.
He doesn't like the Liberal Party in Canada. Now, it's not necessarily his business. He's not Canadian, but this is a fact, right? So I think that, to answer your question, I believe that Poilievre is saying what he needs to say to maintain the vote. But ultimately, no, he's going to go and handle this the right way. He's going to leverage on natural resources, and he's going to do whatever he can to get along with him in some fashion, because, like I said, elephant, ant, what do you do, right?
Yeah. Do you think they're having backdoor DMs like, look at this fucking idiot Trude? Like, do you think it's like, I would, if I'm Poilievre and if Jamil's buddies with JD, I would just be like, look at this fucking pussy,
100%.
I'm in soon. Don't worry. You say what you say. I'll say what I say. Don't worry. I don't fucking think you're, all these things I'm saying are just because, a lot of Canadians are kind of dumb and I need them to vote for me.
Do I think buddies are communicating in the background while all this nonsense goes on? Yeah, I do. Yeah, I think we're good. Yeah, for sure. It's just, it's tough because Trump's very committed to this current narrative, but it is actually hurting the Conservative chance. It is, in a sense, right? I don't think it's going to be enough. Like I said, I think the pollsters are getting a little I think they're sensationalizing the situation.
Yeah.
And I do think you're going to see a Trump-Kamala situation. That's what I think is going to happen.
I think complete blowout. I think it'll be the biggest victory we've ever seen.
Yeah, I think so too. But he is giving them, the belief, or liberals the belief, that they are making up ground and they have a chance.
Okay.
So it's backfiring a little bit. I don't think Trump expected Canadians to be so patriotic, because he kind of go after Trudeau all you want, but then when you made it was the 51st state thing, I think you got a recoil from Canadians. And then automatically, once you get that recoil, then there's they played the association game. Polyev is Trump, right? So I think he miscalculated slightly there, but it is what it is.
I like how you use the word patriotic. Does it ever make you think so my patriotic's like, I love my country. Although at this point I might leave, but at the same time, you boo my national anthem, I'll fucking punch you right in the face. Right? Everyone's level of being a patriot is different.
Yes.
Right?
Well, patriotism's a funny thing, right? You think that your country's better because you were born there. It's an interesting idea when you think about it like that.
Yeah.
I've always been very grateful that I was born in Canada. It's a good way to put it. Definitely. Not for nothing, we're a couple of white guys born in a first world country. The fact life. Right. Like we sit here and bitch and complain, but come on, you and I were dealt really good cards.
Yeah.
I'm very, very grateful for it. That doesn't mean though that things can't be better, and it doesn't mean that the grass is not greener somewhere else. So I'm very grateful for Canada. I moved back here from the Cayman Islands thinking, hey, this is where I'm going to leave my mark, is in Canada. It's important to me. I talk about getting into politics and moving the needle that way. I spent a lot of time just trying to explain to Canadians what's really going on. Like, obviously, I think I've shown a reasonable amount of patriotism. However, it doesn't carry the same value in my life anymore. Where I live, it will probably be in Texas versus Canada for the next 20 years. And it's not because I'm less grateful for Canada. It's just that it's not as big a part of the equation anymore because of what it's become, if that makes sense. I don't know. It's kind of like, if you grew up on a really great street and you loved all your friends and you guys had such great times, then you go back there and now it's a fucking crack house. Right. It's like, well, no, but that's your street. Go live on your street. You're like, dude, I don't want my kid to get stabbed. Like, no, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
It's kind of what Canada feels like. So you're like, hey, I still love the memories and I'm grateful for how I grew up and all the friends I had, but I'm going to move to the other side of town. It's kind of the way I see it now.
Do you find that how people view their patriotism is so simple that it's rooted in a hockey game or saying by Canadian? You make those hoodies. I see those very nice hoodies.
Thank you.
We make our hoodies.
I'll get you one. Yeah.
You know what? If I buy a Canadian fucking hoodie, do you know what I have to charge people to even have margins? $130 fucking.
Oh yeah, dude.
So my hoodies might be made in fucking somewhere else.
It's made in Bangladesh, but here's the thing. It's tagged here, it's sourced by someone here, it's printed by someone here, it's shipped by someone here, and I can charge you $70.
Yes, exactly. So it's not, it may not be made in Canada, but it's so funny. Buy Canadian. You're like, yeah, cool, all right. Stop buying Under Armour. Why don't you buy some non-negotiable fucking brand?
There you go.
Right?
Let's go.
Just like, it just drove me nuts, the different views of patriotism, because I wanted to vomit when the ACC is booing the national anthem for the States.
Yeah.
Right? And then it's just so simple. I find we're very fucking simple, and it drives me crazy.
Well, I think patriotism, to your sort of answer your question, is I think it can be boiled down to something that simple, because I think it doesn't make sense to a lot of people. If you ask people what it means to be patriotic and you put them on the spot, fuck is someone going to say to you? I am Canadian. That's pretty much what they're going to say. They're going to give you a slogan. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. I think it does mean a lot of different things to a lot of people, but when they have an opportunity to jump on a bandwagon, they will. I think that's what it is. It's like, I'm Team Canada, let's say. So when Canada, but that's what it is, right? So when you have the opportunity to be Canadian, you'll take it. But what does it mean to you every day? For most people, nothing.
Yeah.
For most people, very, very little, right? So, I don't know that I necessarily fault people as much as maybe you fault the system for not instilling that or ingraining that in Canadians.
Yeah. Maybe it's just my law enforcement, which is, I didn't fight for the military, but I've had buddies fight for the military. But you know what? Even buddies who I've had kill people overseas hate what they did for this country, because now they realize why they were doing it.
I have a lot of friends in the same position.
All right.
It's
and it's sad.
Yeah.
Right. Because they're fucking warriors.
Yep.
Right. And if you read like Tim Kennedy's book, or you listen to all these fucking people talk who are warriors, they fucking hate what they did.
Yep.
In that context of the people that made them do it.
Yes,
right?
of course. Not in being patriotic and being there for their brothers in arms. Nothing like that.
Yes.
It's, you cunts at the top had this. You basically made us go in and fight these wars for resources, and no one had done anything wrong.
Yep.
And we killed villages and did all this shit so you could win this game of chess, you fucking psychopaths. Yeah. It's miserable. Nice thing is Canada's military is so small. We don't really. We were significant in World War I and II, which is fantastic. But since then, we've pretty much been either relatively inactive or kind of a wet noodle.
Yeah.
That's what we are right now.
Yeah.
And I mean that from a macro perspective. I'm not trying to attack anybody in the military or any individual, but we're underfunded. We're our personnel are like the volume of personnel is low. Our equipment, we barely have. I actually don't think we have enough to defend our own country.
Zero chance.
Right. So that's what I mean. That's what I'm saying.
I shouldn't say all the good ones. I got a buddy. Guess what he's going to do in June till for the end of the year? 6 months. He's going to train Ukrainians in a different country.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this was out of his mouth yesterday. What the fuck are we right? So you have Zelensky. We got to talk about that. We don't have to go crazy. Fucking the ladies probably want to eat some steak and drink some wine with us. But we're sending fucking soldiers to teach Ukraine or to train Ukrainians in a war that's got nothing to fucking do with us.
It's very weird how we in war today we draw imaginary lines, and what's strange to me is, if you're on the outside looking in, it's very clear that we've crossed them, right? So, Russia's fighting Ukraine, but really up until now, the U.S. was fighting Russia using Ukraine as a proxy. It was a proxy war because they were funding them, sending them all the resources. A lot of the advanced equipment they have, either someone from NATO or America had to actually use because you wouldn't know how. You get guys over there trying to train them, they speak Ukrainian. And there's no way to actually get them to understand how to use these tools. So it's pretty wild that we would say, well, no, U.S. isn't fighting this war. Well, they kind of are.
Yeah.
But we would say, no, the red line is you can't put troops on the ground. Okay, well, there are some there. Yeah, but they can't fight. Okay, so that's the new red line. You're kind of going, this is getting a little bit ridiculous. I find that strange in war now, where they make these imaginary lines using some form of diplomacy and this weird set of rules to sort of keep a country out. Like Russia won't attack America, even though, like I said, up until now, it has been a proxy war, right? It's kind of interesting like that. And to your point with the Canadian soldiers, well, Canada's not really involved. They're just training these soldiers. It's like, well, then how are they not?
Yeah.
How are they not involved? But in today's warfare, that's acceptable. I find it all very strange,
Yeah. What do you think when you hear people say like what I just said? I don't give a fuck. That's not my country. We're lucky we were born here. I'm sorry. Fucking it ain't my fault I was fucking born in Scarborough and I'm a fortunate fucking dude. Right? But I honestly don't. It's not our fucking problem.
I tend to agree with you. I think there's been sort of this prevailing narrative for a long time that you have to join one of the teams. Right? You're basically call it East versus West in a lot of ways. If you are in NATO, then in this scenario, you're in the West. And you need to pay the toll, which we're not doing. You need to support the decisions they make, which we are doing in some sense, so that you can keep them on your team because you need someone to defend you. You need your own bully because someone might knock on your door and try to steal all your shit. That's kind of been the prevailing narrative of the world since maybe World War II, right? You have your alliances and you stick to them and you do these things you maybe don't want to or shouldn't so that you can maintain safety. I think that's a reality that we've been in for a long time. I think it's maybe because of nuclear weapons where you've got your finger on a button, but so does the guy on the other side of the world. And when that's the case, it's mutually assured destruction. So I think that's how these alliances work too. Same kind of thing. Excuse me, fuck. So with that being the case, I sort of understand how these things happen. If you and I are buddies and someone comes and tries to rob you, I'm going to show up and I'm going to kick the shit out of him with you. Okay, yeah. I kind of get it. So from that perspective, I have an understanding of alliances and how the world has worked since post-World War II. And maybe before that, I'm not a great historian, but that's like a reasonable timeline to consider. So I understand the perspective. And then you have trade with these people, favorable trade. You use tariffs against the other countries because of economic warfare like they would do with China and the EVs that we saw over the last couple of years. So I sort of see how there's a system in how the world operates that is so large that as an individual and as an individual country, I'm not sure how much you can actually move the needle. Definitely as Canada. Canada can't do fuck all. So because we refuse to have a military, refuse to secure our own borders, what choice do we really have? And the answer is we don't really have much of a choice. I agree with your sentiment, though. So on the other side of that is, I agree with you. I don't think we should be fighting these wars. Ukraine was a neutral state. I think a lot of people know, so I don't need to go through the history of, the Euromaidan in 2014, Crimea, America was involved then. NATO continued moving their border to the east and surrounding Russia. Sure, Putin did invade a country, which is totally fucked up and wrong.
Yeah.
So, but you can see how there was some instigation, and Ukraine was supposed to be a neutral state. Obviously, it's not anymore. It's been purchased by the West. Maybe for the resources. I don't really know. We'll see how it all shakes out. I don't agree with going and fighting these wars. I would not fight for this country. I wouldn't. No. That's a bold statement. I think a lot of people might alarm some people. I would not fight for this country because of what it's become, because I don't trust the people in charge, because of all the people that I've talked to like you that go, fuck, I cannot believe what I just did.
Yeah.
Support the people I did it with. But Jesus, this country has got it ass backwards. But so when you kind of look at those two ideas, it's like, yes, I disagree with it, but the way of the world doesn't necessarily allow you to do what you want to do in those scenarios, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, good. Last question. So you're dad now.
Yeah.
Right? How has that changed the way you make all your decisions? For me, it's God, family, country. Country, not so much anymore. Right? But God and family, that's me. Every decision's rooted in that. Right?
It's interesting. So for me, I'm not religious, so it's family. That's it for me. That's the top of the food chain. It did a couple things. So we moved out of the city primarily for the safety of my kids, because I know Toronto and Mississauga were getting a little more dangerous, and we lived in a nice area in Port Credit, but we had bums sleeping in the vestibule, bums sleeping in the park, people getting stabbed. And the last thing I need to do, because I'd be a little edgier with my baby, I don't need to snuff out a bum and go to jail. I was like, fuck. So obviously I got out of there, and we got into a place that had a little more space, a little safer. That was, part of it. I got motivated again to be a great entrepreneur, which is interesting. For a long time, over the last 5 years, you get a little worn down. You kind of start thinking, I think last time we spoke to you, I was like, maybe Costa Rica, man. I'm going to go live on a beach. Fuck this. Yeah. That all changed again. I got very, very motivated to, be successful for a few reasons. One, so, the next 5-10 years, I can retire and just hang out with my kids and raise them. That was a big part of it. The other one is I wanted to lead by example. Your kids build 90% of their habits between 0 and 7. Yes. Actually starts in the 3rd trimester. They're in something called theta. They're in theta waves. So they're very susceptible to programming. And this is everything. So your children will have the programming around money, relationships, how you treat people, how you treat yourself, all these things. They all get baked into your child's mind up until they're 7 years old. And now you can bake in new habits again. Like driving. You learned to drive when you were 16. You could go on a 2-hour drive with Jen and just talk shit the whole time. And oh my God, the drive's over. I forgot. I don't even know what I was looking at.
Yeah.
Your subconscious takes over. So you can still program yourself, but it's much harder. So those first 7 years are incredibly crucial. So that's something that I think about. I go, I'm going to go be successful. I'm going to show him, sort of this path on how to grab life by the horns, even when it's kind of fucked up. So that was important to me, sort of in that space. It also made me kind of, really, I've always been pretty physically fit, but I'm like, my kid thinks I'm a superhero. So I'm going to go be one. I'm going to go be one. I'm going to go be that superhero. I'm going to go actually be that person. So that was another thing that was really motivated to just improve my health, my longevity. I mean, I'm 40 and just had my first kid, so I'll be 50 when he's 10. I'll be 60 when he's 20. I'm still going to beat that little fucker in a race. So I got a lot of work to do, right? I won't be competitive with my kids. I won't, but you know what I mean? So that was part of, that was part of, well, in a sense, but not when I'm 60. No, that was part of it as well. I wanted to be physically fit. I wanted to sort of live up to that superhero, just belief that he has in me and that my kids will have in me. Right. And the other thing too, it was interesting with moving to Texas. I really think about life in chapters. So the next 10 years is kind of his first chapter where we try to give him all the best habits. And I'll actually sidetrack there for one sec. Meg and I have been together 20 years, my wife. We get along amazing. I love my wife so much. But the way we communicate can be combative. So people can see that and be like, are you guys cool? We're like, yeah, what do you mean? Yeah, of course. We're both just alphas and we'll gnaw each other's fucking face off. So there's never anything physical, never anything even mean. We're just like, hey, you want to grab coffee? Like there's no problem. But I recognize that my child might not be the same. So now I'm trying to curb that because I think about the programming. I'm like, I don't want him to see Meg and I being feisty and thinking they're negative or that's not good or they're not. Or maybe he'll think, in order to get along with these people, I have to do this. I have to behave in a certain way because maybe he's not as aggressive as we are. So I started thinking about a lot of those little things. So once every month or two, we kind of sit down and we just talk to each other from each other's perspective and be like, okay, what are you doing that I don't like and vice versa? What are you noticing? How is this going to impact him? Like, so that's one of the things we just sort of picked up as a couple. But sorry, back to the chapter thing. So the first 10 years is like, hey, program your kids properly. But the next 10 from 50 to 60, give them all the opportunities you possibly can. And that kind of goes back to be successful, be physically fit. When my kids 10, 12, 13, skipped 11 for some reason. But anyway, they're going to decide what they want to do with their lives. So they're going to have aptitude in certain areas. So if they're athletes, if they're musicians, whatever they may be, I want to make sure that I can give them the resources and the attention they need to try to thrive in those areas. So that's also why I'm like, Texas, not Costa Rica. Don't go live on a beach and be a lazy fucking bum. Go be an entrepreneur. Go be successful. Go be Superman. And when your kids need you to be there for them, when it's time for them to really try to level up, you're there. Yeah. So I would say that's, for the most part, those are the things that have changed for me.
I love it. It's funny because selfishly, I would love to buy a fifth wheel. I said to Jen today, the camper show's on or the RV show. I'm like, I kind of want to just like not be here and just go on a fucking fifth wheel and just travel the States. And then my brain came back and I'm like, oh fuck, my kid's hockey, my kid's baseball, my kid's soccer, school, fuck school here. But yeah, sports for me is huge. I need, it doesn't have to just be here, but like going to Texas, you'll have all those opportunities. Yeah. Costa Rica, I guess, I don't even know.
Not really. Yeah, exactly. Like, bro, I'm short and stocky. I'm built for speed. There's no way that kid's swimming. I'm a sinker.
Yeah. No, I love it. That's fucking awesome. I love that you guys do that every month or whatever, have a conversation. Cause yeah, that's good. I love that, man. Your kids will notice too, because I mean, I'm no fucking veteran parent. My kids are only 7 and 9, but they think I'm the strongest man in the world because I go to the gym all the time.
Nice. Yeah, right? That's great. Yeah, yeah.
So they take notice, man. They notice if you're a lazy schmuck. They notice all that little shit. So,
you know what someone said to me one time that really stuck with me? The camera's always on.
Yes.
It's like, okay, good call.
Dude. They remember
everything. And it's programming them.
The shit that they will say from years ago, something that was said or something that happened. You're like, how the fuck did you remember?
You never know what's going to imprint. Because the same thing happened to you. Bro. But because remember, like you're young, you have images in your mind from when you were 5 or 6. Certain pictures stuck, and you don't know why. Yeah. And you don't know which ones are going to stick for them.
Yeah. No.
Just do the best you can.
Kids are everything, bro. I love it. I'm so happy for you guys.
Thank you.
But yeah, man, fuck. That's it.
That was a good chat.
Thanks for coming, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Fucking, give us a follow, share it. Where can everybody find you? If, like everyone, I'm sure, fucking knows who Jonathan Harvey is.
Yeah, I would say if you want to follow me directly, it's Jonathan Harvey on every platform. If you want to follow the news, it's at Blendr News on everything or at the Blendr.report on Instagram. Because I got my first Instagram pulled from Bill C18. So
what?
Yeah, Bill C18 blocked us because of the news. Not a huge deal. So Blendr News, it's Jonathan Harvey. I'll see you there.
Fucking right. Thanks, guys. Like I mentioned on every podcast, be you, man. Don't hold back. If it hurts a little bit, whatever, if your employer gives you, flack or your family, be you, man. It's fucking feels so much better and there's less energy going into having to be fake, right?
Well, I mean, the worst thing that can happen is you're successful trying to be something you don't want to be.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys. Love you guys.